Pick them up. So the Wellness Center has a teen clinic. We call it the teen clinic. It's also known as the sexual health clinic. And that's every other Friday. And so as far as sexual health services go, Marin community clinics are the service providers that come onto campus to provide sexual health services. So what they provide is access to a good amount of birth control, so birth control pill, patch, ring, shot, and then they do referrals for the implant or implant-on, which is like the birth control that's under the arm or under the skin in the arm, and then IUDs. So we can't put things inside of people's bodies at school, so they help connect people to those resources out in the community, usually their clinics. So those birth control methods, sexually transmitted infection testing, so gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV, and syphilis, emergency contraception, so most people know that as morning after pill or Plan B, condoms, lube, they check for UTIs or yeast infections or bacterial vaginosis. They provide treatment for that as well, which is usually antibiotics. And I'm missing one, STI pregnancy testing. So Planned Parenthood provides all of that, and then on top of that, at Planned Parenthood, people can get the implant put in or an IUD inserted. People can get a wider range of testing if need be for STIs, which can include hepatitis. They can do pap smears, so that's to test for cervical cancer, and they can also do herpes testing. And so, and I think they provide treatment for all of those as well, or medication. For pregnancy testing, if someone were to test positive for pregnancy testing here, we would have to refer out if they wanted to terminate the pregnancy or make an adoption plan, because those are not services that Marin Community Clinics provides. Planned Parenthood does offer pregnancy termination and does have a relationship with an adoption agency, so people who want to make an adoption plan can access those services. Some Planned Parenthoods provide prenatal testing or prenatal care. So for people who want to continue the pregnancy, there are some Planned Parenthood locations that help with that up to a certain age of gestation, and then after a certain age they'll connect the person to an OBGYN, usually when they're later on in their pregnancy. That way they have a connection to someone who's going to actually deliver the baby. They offer vaccinations, so HPV vaccine is really big to prevent HPV. So they offer that. They offer, what other things do they offer? Vasectomy and sterilization or E-sure for females. So there's two other parts that Planned Parenthood does, is education and advocacy. So the advocacy part is what Planned Parenthood is really known for. They do a lot of political work locally and over in Washington, D.C. to help continue to help support reproductive health laws. And so you hear a lot about, if a law is being put into place that would affect Planned Parenthood or just sexual health, reproductive health in general, Planned Parenthood has the capacity to mobilize people, mobilize communities to keep laws like that out, and to put to put laws in place that help support access to reproductive health care. In the education, that's what I used to do as a health educator. Any type of sex ed, middle school, high schools, colleges, trainings, parent workshops, community workshops, anything to help educate people around how to stay safe and how to be healthy and make healthy decisions. I was talking about mental health earlier, so I want to go back on that. So they were partnering with mental health organizations and having an intern or a trainee on site to provide mental health services and to provide counseling. And it wouldn't be like an ongoing counselor, but it would be someone that if a positive sexually transmitted infection testing happened or a positive pregnancy test happened, that someone would be able to help support them and help them figure out what they wanted to do and how they wanted to proceed, especially with a positive pregnancy test, because sometimes people really don't know. And so that's actually something pretty unique that not all Planned Parenthoods have, but here in Northern California, they started doing that. So in Marin County, Drake is the second school ever to have not only a wellness center, but also to have the sexual health clinics happen on campus. As I understand it, in the history of Marin County, there's never been sexual health services provided on high school campuses. So Redwood was first with the wellness center, and so since they were first, they were also first for their sexual health clinic. They have the exact same thing, but Drake is second. So Marin County, there's only two schools, Redwood and Drake. But if you travel to San Francisco County, which is where San Francisco, like the city is, or East Bay, like Contra Costa or Alameda, some high schools do have a wellness center, and some wellness centers may have a clinic or may have a clinic really close by that they partner with. But it's not like in San Francisco. I think San Francisco is really unique because they're the ones that started a wellness program in this area, and all the high schools there have it. And in East Bay, I think they're trying to get it to be more uniform, but just the funding is a little bit more choppy in the East Bay. So I know that the Planned Parenthood that's here in San Rafael, it wasn't always in that location. It moved around a little bit, but it's been in San Rafael or in Mill Valley, and they have been around since I believe the 60s. And it used to be one of the only sexual health services, so lots of local women would go there, and a lot of local women continue to go there even though there's a lot more doctors and medical services around, because they just became really comfortable and they are really supportive of Planned Parenthood. And so we have this Planned Parenthood here in Marin has the highest rate of older women coming to Planned Parenthood. Usually Planned Parenthood people think, oh, people who are a reproductive age, but we have a lot of women who are menopausal who are still seeking services through Planned Parenthood just because they've grown up with Planned Parenthood, they trust it here. So Marin is pretty unique. So I know here in Marin, they've been here a while, and in the country, Planned Parenthood, I just looked it up again, has been around since the early 1900s. So I think that when people think of Marin, they think of like people who have lots of money. And yeah, that is a part of Marin, but there's also another part of Marin that there are people who are middle class, people who are lower class, who still rely on services that Planned Parenthood provides. And so the people who have access to other like insurance or other healthcare providers, they may not be affected as much because they have options. But other people who are on Medicaid will definitely be affected because there's not very many people in this county who take Medicaid. And the people who take Medicaid already are super full. They don't have the capacity to specialize in sexual health care. Planned Parenthood, that's what they do. They don't try to specialize in all care. They specialize in reproductive sexual health care. And so people know that's where you go to for that type of health care. So they're one of the only providers that specialize in sexual health care that takes Medicaid. And if Planned Parenthood goes away, it's going to be really hard for people who are on Medicaid or who are middle class who use their sliding scale fees to get health care. They may postpone their pap smear for months because the community clinics are booked months in advance for other things because they do all types of healthcare. So I think that it would really affect them. I know people who use the community clinics, and just to get an appointment for non-emergent, you're weeks, if not months, booked out. So it may prevent people from getting breast cancer checks or, pap smear checks. And those are, or even just birth control. They may not be consistent with getting access to their birth control because it may take them a while to get an appointment. So I think it would really affect Marin. And in the country, there are some communities where Planned Parenthood is the only provider. So if Planned Parenthood goes away, people will have to drive hours. So imagine taking time off of work. Most people, if they take time off of work, they don't get paid. So you're basically losing money. You're having to travel. You're having to make an appointment months and months away to go get sexual health care. So there are communities out there in the United States where if Planned Parenthood closes, that's a really huge deal. The current administration is trying to do is not only pull money from Planned Parenthood, but also make it so that other people can't provide services like Planned Parenthood. So the main thing is abortion, right? Pregnancy termination. And so they make it so that no money can be given to an organization that provides abortion. Even if that organization does 100 other things, if they provide that one service that they're not in agreement with, they'll put funding for everything, right? And so Marin Community Clinics, the people that come here, they get funded a lot through Medicaid, we just talked about that, and through something called Family Pact. It's the state's reproductive health insurance. And so the administration is also talking about cutting the budgets off of those programs as well, which will definitely affect whether or not they can travel outside of their clinics, whether they could provide these services. So it's not just Planned Parenthood, but it's also the other things that, the other programs that get funded. If Planned Parenthood money gets pulled, I feel like they've survived this long. They have an amazing ability to keep afloat, even if it's temporary until administration changes, and then they work back to building up again. But until then, lots of people will be looking for a place to go, and they'll go to Marin Community Clinics, and they won't be able to be seen because Marin Community Clinics doesn't have the staff. They didn't get money to pay for their staff or their facilities to see more people because Planned Parenthood, their money went. So it's this chain reaction. And here we would want to see more students, but I wonder if money got pulled, if Marin Community Clinics would even be able to come onto campus, because it costs them extra money to send their staff here, right? It would just be more efficient financially for them just to keep their health center, have everyone come to their health center. But that's not how teens access healthcare. So they do this because they want to make sure that everyone has access. But if money gets pulled, whether it's through PP or through FPAC or through Medicaid, I don't know if we would be able to provide these services. Yeah, not all at once. Mm-hmm. So every other Friday, we have the clinic from 8 in the morning to noon. And through that time, they have the capability of seeing anywhere from 11 students to 14 students. We have 3 slots that we keep open for emergencies. Sometimes people have a sexual health emergency and they need to be seen, so we keep those slots open just in case. But if we were to fill those up, we would have 14 slots available. And so, it would take a while, but we could see every student here on campus, and that would be, not everyone needs to be seen on campus, but some people, they don't have transportation, or they don't, they don't have access to insurance, so they can't go to their own provider. So we do have the capabilities, just not all at once. And maybe not the full range of services that they might be looking for.